Welcome to another segment of ACRP TV. Today, our spotlight is on reaching out to the next generation of clinical research professionals, a very important topic. We know there's a shortage in the workforce and the clinical trial demand is only growing. We've got a great guest with us today, Chris Gantz, who's the Senior Director of the Research Liaison Office with the Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center in Philadelphia. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Michael.
Let's jump right in. I know this is an important topic near and dear to your heart. Talk about why it's so important to reach out to this next generation in the workforce.
Absolutely. I think it's been an ongoing conversation in the industry for a while that we need to be sort of creating a pipeline of people. Actually, I heard on a call the other day, someone mentioned it as more of a highway where there are on-ramps and off-ramps at each stage of people's career, where they can find out about clinical trials, find out about research as a possible opportunity, a career opportunity. And I think that it's very obvious that we need an influx of people, especially in areas where there may be a number of academic medical institutions like we have here in Philadelphia, where there might be a smaller pool of talent that we can draw from.
Now let's drill down. I know you and I've talked in the past, and I know COVID has upended some of your plans, as it has for many of us, but you've begun some outreach at the high school level. So talk a little bit about that.
That's correct. Yeah, at my institution, there's been a drive for this pipelining initiative. And initial conversations had it starting sort of at the college level, trying to educate people about clinical trials at the college level, which is where I learned about research. And I think that that's where most of my colleagues first start to hear about research. It's sort of you go into undergrad and then you get tapped because people want you to participate in a trial. But I never heard about research as a possible career option. It never came up when I was in high school. And I think that there's a real opportunity. And we've been fortunate enough to have support at the institutional level for engaging with high schools and showing them what that could potentially look like.
Do you think, when people talk about this COVID situation, obviously there's not too many silver linings in this. It's been a horrific pandemic, to put it mildly. But the clinical trial industry really has responded incredibly well with innovation and people just working above and beyond the call of duty. It's also, of course, as you know, very much raised the profile of this industry. It's on the nightly news now, which is something that would have been hard for me to imagine a year ago. It leads the nightly news. Do you think that's going to help maybe can you leverage some of that in your efforts to reach out to a new audience and show them about the exciting career in clinical research?
Absolutely. It has made clinical trials so much more accessible to the general public. I can't remember another time in my career where on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, there was an article about the need for research participants and the value of clinical trials. It presents an opportunity to fundamentally change the way people look at clinical trials. It is, if there is any silver lining, that would be it.
In days gone by, the only big major mainstream coverage we get would be something negative, usually.
That's correct. That's correct. Which makes all of our jobs that much harder when we try and educate the public about their role in clinical trials.
Before I let you go, let me talk to you. I know you and I've talked also about your special emphasis and your organization's special emphasis in late stage cancer. And tell me about that as an element in what drives your work.
Yeah, so coming into oncology clinical trials and learning about the area where I live, which is the Philadelphia area, and learning that there's a high rate of late stage cancer deaths in this area, I know personally I found that astounding. It's one of those pieces of information that you learn where it doesn't have to be, right? With maybe some tweaks or changes or a different strategy, we could change that. And so the amount of late stage cancer death, that would be maybe someone has an issue that's developing over time. They're not getting screened. They don't go in for screening. They maybe aren't having regular office visits with their physician. And then they find out very late in that cancer's progression. And at that stage, it's that much harder to have a good outcome. And I feel very strongly that educating at the sort of the younger level, educating high school students about how this is a fact, even, right? So I have some angst about it and some concern about it, and transferring that to these students who would then be sort of, I think, motivated and incensed that this is happening, and go out into their community and talk to their loved ones, their families, members, their friends, and say, hey, I just learned this, that this is something that's happening in our community. when was the last time you had a mammogram? When was the last time you had a colonoscopy? You haven't? Why not? And that's so much more powerful than any messaging that I could come up with, any kind of communication that I could put out in the world, to have a loved one out there saying that, hey, I really think that this is important, and you should look into it.
Well, this is really inspiring on a number of levels. Chris, I want to thank you for joining us. This has been our ACRP TV Spotlight on reaching out to the next generation of clinical research professionals. Our guest has been Chris Gantz, who's the Senior Director of the Research Liaison Office at the Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center in Philadelphia. Chris, thank you again for your time and all your hard work.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much.